If bedtime feels like it's already falling apart before you even started the bedtime routine, like by the time you're heading to the bedroom or brushing teeth, your child is already wound up, more reactive, harder to reach. That's not because your routine isn't working. It's because bedtime actually started an hour before, and you didn't know to look for it. I'm Diane Luzny. I work with moms of kids on the autism spectrum who are dealing with sleep issues. When bedtime is hard, almost every conversation goes straight to the bedtime routine. What should I change? What am I missing? What haven't I tried? And sometimes the routine does need adjusting, but a lot of the time, the routine isn't the problem at all. The problem is what happened in the hour before it started. Point 1. Your child arrives at bedtime in a state. When we think about bedtime, we think about the sequence: bath, pajamas, books, lights out. But before any of that begins, your child's nervous system is already somewhere. Either it's winding down or it's running and perhaps revving up. Here's the thing: the routine doesn't reset that. It works with whatever state your child is already in. Think about it like a car engine. You've been driving at highway speed and suddenly you pull into your driveway. The engine doesn't go from 100 to 0 the moment you park. Your child's nervous system is the same. If they've been running all day, school, transitions, sensory input, activity after activity, social interactions, they don't automatically slow down just because the clock says it's bedtime. So if your child comes into the routine already activated, already loud, already sensitive, already hard to redirect, the routine has to work against that momentum, and that's exhausting for everyone. That's why you can do the exact same routine on 2 different nights and get completely different results. The routine didn't change. The state they arrived in did. Point 2. There's a shift that happens earlier. For most kids, there's a point somewhere in the evening, usually an hour or more before bedtime, where things start to shift. It's not dramatic. You might almost miss it. You might notice your child gets a bit louder. Transitions take a little bit more effort. They bounce between activities without settling. Small things start to bother them more than usual. Nothing makes you think this is a crisis. It's just a subtle change in energy. Here's a way to picture it. Imagine a pot of water on the stove. At first, it's fine, quiet, still, and then you start to see the tiny bubbles along the bottom. Then a few more. The water isn't boiling yet, but if you don't turn down the heat, it will. That early shift, the tiny bubbles, is the point where you have the most influence. Once it's boiling, it's much harder to bring back down. By the time most parents notice something is off, it's already been building for a while. And by the time the routine starts, it's fully boiling. Point 3. Why this supports or sabotages the routine. Most parents, when bedtime is hard, try to fix it by adjusting the routine. Make it longer, start it earlier, add a calming step, and sometimes that helps. But if your child's nervous system is already activated, going into the routine, already past that tipping point, those changes don't get to the root of it. You're adjusting the steps of the routine while the engine is still running hot. It's like trying to have a calm conversation with someone in the middle of an argument. The words might be right, the timing might appear perfect, but if they're not in a state to receive it, it doesn't land the way you hoped. They might not hear it at all. Your child isn't refusing to cooperate with the routine. Their body isn't in a state where the routine can do its job yet. So, instead of asking, what do I need to change about the routine? The more useful question becomes, what state is my child in before we even start the bedtime routine? What you can do. Tonight, watch for that early shift. About an hour before bedtime, start paying attention. Not to the routine, to your child's energy. Watch for the subtle change. A bit louder, a bit more sensitive to things, harder to transition, bouncing around without settling, being a little whiny. Don't immediately move into the next thing. Don't push through to the next transition. Just pause for a minute or two. Stay where you are. Take a slow breath and a long exhale. Lower your voice slightly. Slow the pace of what's happening around them. Reduce the stimulation. You're not stopping everything. You're just taking the pressure off before it peaks, removing the heat before the pot boils. Why this matters. That early shift is the moment before the pot starts boiling. It's where you have the most leverage. If you move straight through it into the next demand, the next transition, the next step, it often ramps up faster. That one pause can interrupt that buildup before it takes over the whole evening. The refrain, instead of, I need to get through the evening, shift to, I can slow things down when I see it starting to build up. You don't have to fix everything. You just have to catch it earlier. I've linked a guide below about what to do when behavior takes an exhausting turn and how you impact their behavior. Once you can see when that shift starts, you can stop trying to fix everything at bedtime because you understand it didn't start at bedtime. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through why so many of the things you've already tried seem like they should work, but don't hold over time. And it might not be what you think it is. See you there.